Good evening. Jay Jackson here, Father Extraordinaire. And I wanted to pass along a few words before we got started tonight. I've always felt like the children are our future. Teach them well. Let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty that they possess inside.
My name's Curtis Simpson. Been married for a little over 8 years, and I've got 2 kids. One is 7, just graduated first grade, and I've got a 3-year-old daughter.
I'm Robert Fulton. I've been married 22 years. I got a grown stepson and a 19-year-old son.
And my name is Rolando Vargas, aka Rolo, if y'all didn't know that one. I have 2 girls, age 13 and 10, and I've been a father for 13 years.
My name is Kyle. I've been married for 6 years. I have 2 kids. My son is 3, my daughter's 4, almost 5.
My name is Scott Parker. Just celebrated my 26th wedding anniversary. Pump it up. Got 2 kids. I've got Lauren, who's 21, just graduated from Campbell, and is looking to potentially get a job for the government, Homeland Security. And Caleb, who goes to Lee Early College, he is 16 years old.
I'm Steve Milosh. I got a 21-year-old daughter and a soon-to-be 18-year-old daughter. Pray for me all, please. Been married for, I think, 19 years.
Hey, kid, might get some pointers from that guy.
I think I will.
My name is Jay Jackson, and I've been happily married for almost 3 years. And I've got 4 beautiful children, a 16-year-old stepdaughter, a 13-year-old daughter, a 13-year-old stepson, and a 9-year-old son. And love them all. We stay busy.
You say you're happy married because she's in the
I
room.
do, yeah. Did you hear that?
Happy married?
Happy.
Yeah.
Points.
You guys all still have your hair. So, honestly, how'd y'all make it? How'd y'all become the fathers that you are? I mean, what was it that brought you to that point?
A good wife. She helps me out. She's my partner. Decision making together. As far as the kids go, you got to listen to them. You can be their friend, but you got to know when to discipline too. A short story. My dad, I felt when I was a kid I got disciplined once a week, whether I needed it or not. More than likely I did. And I remember my dad, he's not with me anymore, but when I was an adult, he said, "I'm sorry I did that so much." And I said, "Why?" He says, "Why? Aren't you proud of me?" He goes, "No, I am." I said, "Well, I am who I am because of the way you raised me." And I thanked him for it. And yeah, it hurt, but you know what? It makes you who you are. And I didn't discipline my kids, especially having girls, but not quite to that point. But my girls turned out pretty good. I'm their friend, but I'm their father.
That's a good way to look at it.
Consistency. It's everything he said, and it's consistency. Modelization of a parent comes from Deuteronomy chapter 6, and talks about teaching them when they sit, when they walk, when they stand. Talks about where to place the statutes of God. But the truth is, more is caught rather than taught. So rather than pay lip service, make it a life service. If they see you living out these principles that render blessing, then they're going to say, "Hey, wait a minute, there's something to this." And the real joy is when they take ownership of the principles that you have been teaching them. And when they get 18, 21, and they're still doing those things, and it's not because dad is there, but it's because they now hold it as dear in their heart, that's where the joy is.
I definitely want that for my girls. Always wanted it for my girls. I don't know all of you extremely personally, but have any of you ever been divorced and had to raise your kids on your own, or been single father for a while? Any of you?
I was for 3 years, and it was tough. We, at the time, we weren't very active in church, and I had put everything into what I thought was doing the right thing, which was spending, all my time with the kids. And when it wasn't my weekend and they had a ball game or something, I was on the road, and we just kind of unintentionally just kind of moved away from going to church, and had all the excuses in the world. Thought I was doing the right thing again, but when Janet and I started dating, and she took me to San Lee, and I saw the way that her kids interacted and enjoyed the youth programs and all of our youth counselors. I thought, man, Gracie and Hunter would get a lot out of this. And first time we took them, they loved it, and they've looked forward to going back ever since. When I was young, I was raised in a very conservative, conventional Southern Baptist church, and great folks, but not necessarily geared towards young people.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time getting excited and getting motivated to go to church when I was little, because I thought it was stiff. I couldn't get into it. And I've always appreciated, what Steve and Mike Holder and all the group, Melissa and everybody down in the kids and teens ministry, the message is still right. They've still got the right structure behind what they're teaching, but they make it fun and interactive too. And my kids just really enjoy that.
Yeah, I get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing my kids. Their favorite part of the week is going to church. You say, anytime we go out, most of the time that's their question. We're going to church. Mm-hmm. So I get that enjoyment, because it makes me very happy that they actually enjoy it, especially, down kids ministry.
My oldest is complaining to me right now because she has to spend the summer with her mother, and she's like, Dad, I want to go to youth group in San Lee. I don't want to. And we worked something out. She was trying to get me to figure out how to get her down here for one day, a week, and it's all the way in Chapel Hill. And she just loves being there, and that was huge for me. I've been a single dad, about 5 years, and it was quite a mess when it all happened, when she left. Having to learn all of those things, but like you had expressed, I think I took time to get to know God much more personally than I've ever experienced, and I took that circumstance and I prayed, and I worked hard at it, worked hard on myself to become an example for my daughters, and I'm so glad that it's paid off. But it's not just paid off to the point where it's just a religious experience. They've seen my mistakes. They've seen me rebound from my mistakes, all because God got me out of those situations. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I lived this perfect life or this grandeur of some great father who was great to people. Everybody, I hear people all the time saying, "You're a great dad." I said, I'm only great because I want to make sure that my daughters, have an example of what kind of man they should marry in the future. What a man of God is supposed to look like.
One thing I did, I had got saved right before, about a year before me and Vicki got married, and we had a long discussion, and she wanted to get saved, and she got saved, and we got married, and then we decided we wanted to have a kid, and at that time she had a son that was about 12 or 13, and that was a little bit rocky there for a while, but I think we got it all adjusted out over the years. The one thing I did with my son was I tried to make sure from the very start, when he was a baby, I took him to church. Vicki worked swing shift, and so a lot of times she was working on the weekend, so it was up to me to take the baby to church, and I really felt odd, but I did it. And So that is kind of like on what my friend here is talking about, that, you know, in Deuteronomy it says train up a child in the way he should go, and then talk about it. And what I did with my son when he was very young, we started reading the Bible just about every night. We'd read a chapter, a verse, or something. And so as he got older, it wasn't like we was just starting and it was a big fight. You know, if at bedtime we would read a little bit in the Bible, and so, you know, all those years we do a little bit at a time. And then I listen to Christian radio all the time in my truck, and you know, they're always talking about something wholesome on there, and you know, my philosophy is whoever's driving controls the radio. And I tried not to overdo it, but I did try to set an example, and then I tried to watch what I did. I tried to weed out a lot of the old habits that I had myself before I had any kids, and that took a while, but I got it done with God's help. But you know, I say it's definitely a walk. You know, you just, you know, like I say, I took my son to church, and you know, had him in youth group, and I was fortunate enough to be able to, you know, to put my son in Christian school, and I just can't say enough about that. But you know, it's still, I think it's what you do at home. You know, I started praying with my family. That was hard because I wasn't used to speaking out and being I was always kind of quiet growing up, you know, when I was outside my circle, and definitely praying at the table kind of came, I had to force myself to do it to start with, because I just, you know, but it's something once you start establishing it, it just kind of, you know, people respect it, and everybody kind of comes on board. And you know, when we sit down at the table at home right now, everybody waits for me to pray. I mean, they expect it, and once you establish that kind of leadership role, you know, everybody's looking for it. They're looking for somebody to lead, and when you step up and lead, that's what they expect you to do, especially the father. And I think it means a lot.
Well, it's our job. We are supposed to be the spiritual leaders of the families. So in Ephesians 6:4, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. It's not for our wives to bring our kids to church or bring us to church. It's for us to bring them to church. We're our leaders of our families. It's our job.
Heard a statistic one time that when the ladies are the only one to take the kids to church, kids stay in church when they're grown 30% of the time. When the men are the only ones to take the kids to church, they stay in church about 60 to 70% of the time. But when husband and wife do it together, they stay in church 80 to 90% of the time.
That's cool.
So men are a huge factor. But as you pointed out, a wonderful wife is truly a blessing of the Lord.
Absolutely.
You know, I listen to, I cheated a little bit. I listen to Focus on the Family about every day in my truck on the way to work, and I get a lot from James Dobson. And he emphasized how important it was to let your children know that you love them. And my daddy died when I was young, but he let me know that he loved me when I was just a boy. He would tell me that. And I always knew that, even though he had passed on and gone. You know, I grew up knowing that my daddy, when he was alive, loved me. And I made sure that my son and my family, that they know that I love them. I tell them. And I'm proud of that fact that, you know, some men, they can't get themselves to say it, but look, it's just words, you know, and it really means something to look at your children and say, I love you, to hug them. You know, sometimes my son, even now, you know, I'll go to hug him and he'll push me away, and I say, well, you know, I love you. I mean, you know, you're my son. You know, and he's 19, and I still do it.
Yeah.
And I just think it means a lot.
Yeah. I do that every night before I put the kids to bed. It's one thing we go around, give them a hug and kiss and tell them we love them.
I think in this day and age, with families being what they are and divorce rates being about 50%, I think one of the greatest things that you can do is not only tell them that you're committed to them, your love towards them, but tell them how committed you are to your wife and their mother, and then how much you love her, and that you're not going anywhere. And it's that safety and that security that they can lay their heads down every night and go through a day.
I can tell you, communication's big for me because my two, they live with their mother the majority of the time, and so they come every other weekend, and you know, they haven't lived with me consistently since 2010, and I'm very adamant to call them every night, and you know, like Robert was saying, even though it's over the phone, you know, I make sure I tell them I love them and find out about their day. And
Anyone have an Excel file they can give me about time? I mean, really, anything that we can, that's worked in the past. I mean, everything's different from everybody and every different family, but it'd be good to hear different stories. Because it's hard. That's hard to balance.
Time.
Yes.
Time flies. It seems like yesterday. I remember my first one being born, and she just turned 21. I mean, out of college, graduated, got a job. You know, it's a hard thing to juggle. It really. I was fortunate enough to be able to keep my wife at home to raise my kids, so I missed out on a lot. That's my job, and I didn't see a lot of things, but I think my children turned out a lot better because of it. Not having to deal with daycares and all that stuff. We raised our kids, you know. And, it was sacrifice on my part, of course, but I think in the long run it pays off. But yeah, take advantage of those times, man. Try not to miss the ball games or the dance recitals, or because you know that season comes and goes, and then you miss out on it. You know, go fishing with your kid, whatever.
Yeah, and we're in that boat now. I mean, Nikki stays home with our kids. We're blessed to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so we're raising our kids, and it's been a blessing through that and through my job. But the blessing of my job is giving me more responsibility, and that's giving me more time at work.
Well, I worked in a school, and I coached all three sports. So I was going with the varsity teams. Seems like countless hours on away trips, and any home games, they came to the home games, and I coached a few of their teams, so it's always good. But I think the thing that was pretty cool is, you know, sometimes people try to give the balance of quality time versus quantity time.
Yeah.
Which one's better? And I think the answer is both. But the truth is, if you could just, as much as you possibly can, be in their lives, and the quiet times, putting them to bed. It's funny what they will tell you, what they will share their heart with you at bedtime. And there's a lot of godly principles that can be instilled in their life at bedtime, and it's just pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think you can be away from the home and still turn out godly kids, but it's because of the time that you use with them that you make so valuable. And I think one of the things, because I came from a divorced home, and I remember standing on my grandmother's steps at age 7 or 8, because I was with him every other week. He looked at me and said he never wanted to see me again. And I remember just standing there as he walked away, and just watching him walk, get in his car, and then drive off. And there was a whole decade with absolutely no contact. And just how I felt that day. So it's important not only for me to tell my kids I love them, but I enjoy asking them, do you know I love you? And when they say yes, because what else are they going to say? I like to ask them, well, how is it that you know? How is it that I show you I love you? And because it allows me to see into their life of how they see their father. Because believe it or not, I think we all take our vision of God, our view of God, from the man or the father's perspective in the household. So that day when I watched my father walk off, that gave me a perspective of what was the early leanings of how I saw or envisioned God. So it's very important that as we are the leaders in the house, that we just give the right opinion of God, of who He is as a loving Father, a corrective Father, and a caressing father, one that just shows our kids that we truly love them, even when we hug them. At age like 19 and 21.
Even the forced hugs.
Yes.
That's right.
One thing I really tried to do, and I just come from a working family, and I thought it was really important to teach them how to work. I just, I mean, we want them to have fun, we want them to enjoy life, but it's very, very important that they know how to survive. And, I think that's as much a parent's responsibility as anything, is to teach the child or the children or the younger generation how to work and how to be productive. And I put a lot of emphasis on that at my house. And, whether it was, working in the tobacco field that we actually planted for one of my sons, or coming up with something to do to teach them how to work. I just felt like that was very important. And we work together. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you get hot, and sometimes your tempers flare, but you just grow together as you work. I learned that on a tobacco farm when I was a kid, and I tried really hard to instill that at my house. I just thought it was important.
Something to add to that. Meals. Sitting down at a table just like we are and having dinner with your family. Not one picking up your plate and going to the bedroom or with the phone or the iPod or iPad or whatever you call it today. Put the phones away, shut the TV off, and have a meal with your family. That's when you're going to find out. It might be the only 10, 15 minutes you get to sit down, but you're going to hear what's going on in their lives in that few minutes.
Yeah.
And that's something we do to this day. And friends come over, they sit down at that table too. And that's how I was raised. I mean, my father would do without it. If any of my buddies came over and, you didn't come in my house and not eat, put them cell phones away.
Yeah, we at the table.
Hey, it might be the wife,
Yeah. No, it's important. You got to have that 10, 15, half hour a day, just you and your family. I mean, come together at the table.
Yeah.
Period.
We started the same thing. We got noticing the kids at the table, like this, and Janet said, "Psst, no more. Leave them in the other room. We're going to eat together and talk to each other and not be texting each other and all that stuff." So, and it has made a big difference. It really has. You're right, Scott. I was thinking it, and you said it beautifully. Again, when I got divorced and the kids moved 3 hours away, I caught myself focusing more on, being upset or mad or whatever about the time I wasn't with them, and not focusing on making the time that I did have them is quality, high quality as possible. So getting back involved in church, getting them involved in church, and focusing on that time, or it may only be 2 days every 2 weeks, but we're going to make that the most quality 2 days of their 2 week period. And we've really benefited a lot from that as a family.
Yeah, I think more time at the dinner table is probably the best thing for me. With my job, sometimes I'm at a computer at night, or my wife's doing other stuff. Sometimes we don't always get together as a family for meals. So I think that's one of the best things I gotten out of this little dinner with y'all. I think I'm just going to have to spend a lot more time at the dinner table as a family. The praying we do, a lot of the other stuff that we do, that's just one of the things that, just doesn't happen enough. Kids eat at the table, because if they don't, there'll be spaghetti sauce and Cheetos all over the floor. But
Don't invite Dale Sauls over to your house, because they'll look the same way. Cheetos and spaghetti sauce all over the floor.
What was that verse? I don't know who was it that said, Some about not aggravating your children.
Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not exasperate your children.
Exasperate. That's a bigger word.
Instead, bring them up in the training and the instruction of the Lord.
Huge deal. I think something I have not really reflected on, and I most definitely will need to be working on, is uplifting my children. Working on letting them know they're loved and they're doing a great job.
I think the thing that I've heard the most tonight has been consistency. The things that Robert talked about, praying with the family, Steve, the meals, Scott, making sure whenever you possibly can, not only do you know I love you, but do you know why I love you. I think what ties that all together for me is the consistency that you guys have seemingly done that with, and I think that's leading by example. I think it's what we were talking about earlier. If you walk in a Christian manner and go to church consistently and put your kids in a Christ-filled environment consistently, and then you do those things that you talked about consistently, I think that's the key to it. I think that's how you form good habits in your kids. So for me, it would be to take those things and just be much more consistent with them and continue to grow.
One thing maybe we could change is Nikki puts our daughter Kylie to bed every night, and I put our son Luke to bed every night. And we pray with them separately. Maybe we can come together as a family and have that a wholesome prayer. And one thing, they're getting old enough, like I said earlier, Luke's 3 and Kylie's 4, so they're starting to understand more. They come back from kids' church telling us stories about the Bible, so maybe we can start reading little stories out of the Bible every night, and they can catch on to that.
One thing that I started at my house when Robert Daniel was a little young, and when me and Vicky got married, Philip was up and about out of the house before we knew what was going on, but Robert D was coming up, and we started every night when he was just a little boy praying together. And as a matter of fact, last night when I went to bed, I told him, I said, let's pray, and a lot of times we'll all three kneel down at the bed, but I had already jumped in the bed, so Robert came in there and sat in the chair at the foot of the bed. Me and Vicky was in the bed, and I always ask him what you got on your mind. And most of the time for Robert it's school, and Vicky a lot of times will say, well, Robert Robert got into something, or Philip, he can't find a job, but I just every night, I lead us in prayer every night at bedtime. Once in a while I'll come in, I'm too tired to, I'll just go in there and fall out. But if I'm awake and they're awake, when we get ready to go to bed, we're going to pray. Unless me and Vicky's fighting. I try to do it then, but sometimes it's just too much.
That was just that one night.
Pray for resolve.
Most important thing in a young person or a person's life is personal devotions, as well as family devotions. I think if I had a disappointment, it would probably lie on the family devotions. The good news is how much my kids have picked up on personal devotions. The truth is there is no substitute for the Word of God. And just following up with them, holding them accountable, asking them what's going on. If you can get the Word of God in them, trust me. What is the old computer language? GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You put good things in, godliness in, you're going to get godliness out. I believe most of the time. And so, strong devotions.
Now, the fact that you're watching this video means you're in church, so that's a good thing. You're off to a good start. Spend time with those kids. They grow up fast, and the fact that we have a church here that does have a good youth group, me being a part of it is one of the best things I've ever did. And starting them young, you know, lead by example. They're watching you. They see everything you do, you know, so essentially they're your mirror, or you are their mirror, whatever.
You can't lie to kids.
No, they see through it all, and if you act away, that's how they're going to act. If you act in a godly way, they're going to act in a godly way. That doesn't mean they're not going to fall away, but they'll come back. You know, you got that seed planted, you know, and they'll come back and live a good life.
Dear Lord, thank you for this group of men that are here, these fathers, and thank you for the folks that are watching this on video, and existing fathers, future fathers. And we just, first of all, we want to thank you for being the ultimate father, for being such a great example and what a loving father should be, and a protective father, and an educating father. And we just thank you for being the ultimate father for us as earthly fathers. And I just personally thank you every day for the group of men that surround me and influence me in a positive way, make me a better father, better leader, better human, and better Christian. And that also trickles down to my family, my kids. Thank you for Sandley Chapel, Life Springs Church, the foundation that was set there to be a Bible oriented, or founded on the principles of the Bible, and we just see it in our children every day, Lord, and I just thank you for that, and I thank you for the opportunity to share the word and to have influence over hopefully many more lives in Lee County and beyond through setting a good example as Christians and as Christian fathers. And I just pray blessings over all the fathers that are here, that will see this, and that are in our area. I just pray that you give us the wisdom and the vision to be able to be consistent with our children, pray with them, get them involved in the Word, enjoy reading that together, going to church, spending time together, and making the best out of the time that we have in front of our kids, Lord. And I just pray that you give us the wisdom and the vision to recognize the opportunities, to see them, and to capitalize on them, and to continue to grow ourselves so that we can be better leaders in the household, but also to be able to pour into our kids. And just thank you for all our many blessings, and thank you for all the opportunities that we know you're going to put in front of us to make a difference. In Jesus' name, amen.